Well, hello everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. Welcome to the Flood Damage and Insurance Information Workshop, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't immediately point out that it is through the good graces and helpful efforts of El Paso County that we're able to have some very important speakers here tonight who hopefully can answer your questions concerning flood damage and flood insurance and all manners of insurance. I can tell you we share your journey as you try to work your way through the insurance maze sometimes. So the city is also doing the same thing with our insurer, CIRSA, trying to figure out what infrastructure we have that's covered, what isn't, and what our options are. So thank you. We do have several good speakers here tonight. The State of Colorado Division of Insurance is here. NFIP, FEMA is also here, as well as United Policyholders, who are a nonprofit engaged in really helping people work their way through the insurance issues. I wasn't able to set it up for tonight, but we'll be setting up an Ask a Lawyer program for Manitou Springs residents. So if you don't get all the answers you need here tonight and you feel you might need some legal advice, look forward for future information on an Ask a Lawyer program that the El Paso County Bar Association is standing up for us. We also have had a Small Business Administration in last Friday, and they did their initial assessment, and it actually looks like we may have reached the threshold to open some doors for some small business, low interest loans and other programs that they may have available. So hopefully we're trying to get that contact information together so we can give that to you tonight. Don't have it currently, but if not, stay tuned. If we aren't able to get that tonight, we'll have it ready for you real soon. Oh, well, maybe it's already here. Nevertheless, as I mentioned, El Paso County has been just a wonderful partner for the city of Manitou Springs. They've been working pretty much since the fire went out last year on getting funding and building flood mitigation infrastructure up here in Williams Canyon and all the points west of us up Ute Pass, because as we all know, if we didn't know before, that we are susceptible to flooding from a couple different directions now. So I really want to thank the county, and especially Sallie Clark, our commissioner here in District 3, District 3, sorry, who has just been a tireless advocate for the whole of her district. And I think it was Sallie who first suggested that a workshop like this might just be really well timed for folks that have had trouble working their way through the insurance issues that they're facing, on top of all the great devastating loss. We are working hard and hope to have an announcement very soon about some significant flood mitigation efforts that are happening, not just in Williams Canyon, but all the way up Ute Pass, to really see if we can't prevent the type of event that we had on August 9th. And I think it's possible. Now, we're always been at risk of the really large, overwhelming event, but I think we can manage the medium-sized, the slightly larger events and keep them from becoming such a destructive force down here in Manitou Springs. So with that, I would like to ask Sallie Clark, County Commissioner, to come up and speak to you a little bit and then introduce some of our speakers tonight. Thank you, Sallie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to let all of you know that we're going to tape the speakers tonight, and that we will put them on the county's YouTube channel, so that anyone who wasn't able to attend tonight will still be able to see the presentations, so that they can get the information if they weren't able to attend. A couple of things, and I appreciate Mayor Snyder and the partnership that we have with not only Manitou Springs, but also with our partners from the Forest Service, the Colorado Department of Transportation, the City of Colorado Springs Utilities, and so many of our partner agencies, Coalition for the Upper South Platte, that have come together to help during this post-Waldo Canyon recovery effort. The county has also put together a new web page, an easy place to just about get to everything in terms of a portal that gets you to all of the city different websites, as well as the county pages on emergency preparedness. And and all of our partners at waldorecovery.com. So that's an easy place to use as a portal to get you to where you need to go. We also have some folks here from Aspen Point. If you may need somebody to talk to, that's completely covered, so you need to reach out, and El Paso County Department of Human Services is also here if you have other needs that you're still in need for. Please let us know, because just because the flash floods of the last couple of weeks seem to be over, we know that there's still a lot of folks out there that have needs. Hopefully this insurance workshop will do is for those who may have had flood insurance, who need to know what your rights are, those who didn't have flood insurance, who need to know how to purchase flood insurance and what it covers, and the different options that exist. So we appreciate the speakers and United policyholders coming in as a partner to help us set that up. I'd also like to point out at the back of the room wearing the white shirt is R.C. Smith, who is our new Waldo Recovery Manager for El Paso County, and you'll see him around too as we're working through all of the issues, as Mayor Snyder pointed out, above Manitou Springs, the things that we're doing to try and slow that water down and catch the debris before it gets to town, not wait until after it's here. And I know Jack Benson, the city manager's here, as well as some folks from Manitou Springs. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Amy Bach from United Policyholders. Also a couple of ladies in the back who volunteer as well, who are Waldo Canyon survivors. So if you need to talk to somebody who's been through it all, both Carla Hurd-Price and Carrie Olivier are here as well, and they're here to just offer support and let you know that they're here to help you as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Amy now, and thank you very much for coming tonight.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you so much, Sallie. And I want to say Commissioner Clark is really, in my opinion, an example of the kind of elected official you really want. She's had this concern for this community since the fires, and had been talking to me about coming out here for quite a while. So I'm sorry that you need this kind of help, but I'm glad that you have Sallie. I'm glad that you have your mayor, and I'm glad that we're able to be here, and that we were able to line up the experts that I think between all of us here will be able to answer any questions that you might have. And you know, I love your community. I've been here now a couple times. It's absolutely beautiful. So I know how hard it is when you get hit by something like this. It's like a pretty big punch. So what happens, I think, as a lot of you now know, is suddenly insurance becomes a big focus. Maybe not something people generally give a lot of thought to, but suddenly it becomes a big deal, because what do you need when you get hit by a flood or a fire or a mudslide? You need money, right? So your insurance is generally the best source of the most amount of money to repair and rebuild. So this is all about, for those of you who had damage, you know, how do you, if you did have insurance, just what can you expect? And if you encounter any challenges, what resources are there for you? And then for those of you who didn't have insurance and got hit, where might you get some funding, say either through the SBA or the gentleman who's here from FEMA may have some general information as well about any other financial opportunities that there may be to help you. And then for those of you who didn't have damage and are here to educate yourselves, you know, that's great. And I hope that you can spread the word to your neighbors that just because you might not have flooded in the past is not a reason not to have flood insurance. And in my personal opinion, this is a great time to get quotes for flood insurance, because there's a possibility that the pricing is going to start to go up in the fall, and I think it's a good idea to try to get it now. Okay, so just really briefly, what is United Policyholders? If you've never heard of us, that puts you in the 99% of the population, but in areas where there are disasters, we're very well known, and we're very well known to the insurance regulator. So you're the person in the state of Colorado who oversees insurance. You have a new commissioner now, a very nice woman, Commissioner Salazar. So I work with her, or I will be working with her. She just came on board about a month ago, I think. And part of United Policyholders' work is to connect people with expertise and sources of help all along the way, whether it be their insurance or needing help from an elected official, which can happen. So we are a 501c3, like the Sierra Club or Habitat for Humanity. So we don't sell anything. We are funded by grants and donations. We say we're not for profit. We're not for sale, meaning that we're not here to make a sales pitch to you about anything. We are a trusted information resource and a respected voice for insurance consumers in all 50 states. So our only motivation is to give your community useful information to help you get from a damage to repaired, or how do I make good decisions when I'm buying insurance. So we've been running our Roadmap to Recovery program now for almost 22 years actually. And we started right after a wildfire in California. And now we've been in communities all over the country that have had floods and all kinds of awful things. And we're there with our staff and our amazing volunteers who come and become incredibly important. And we stick around because we establish partnerships. So we have been working with Commissioner Clark. We worked with her for the wildfire survivors over the last year, and that's part of how we get our work done. We're not a big organization, so we have to partner up with people, and it's been my honor to work with El Paso County. Okay, so we do have a website, so that's got a lot on it, and after tonight, I would encourage you to pop on there if you're having trouble sleeping, or if you didn't get something I said, or it's quite extensive, our website. And before I go on, I did want to mention that the two beauties in the back there, Carla Hurd Price and Carrie Olivier, I have become part of the United Policyholders family. They both live in Colorado Springs. Carla and her husband, as you heard from Commissioner Clark, went through a total loss, which is a very, very, very challenging experience. And Carrie has gone through a partial loss. So they have taken their own experience and are now sharing it with others. And they're here tonight, and they're going to be around. Carrie's son has been living in Manitou, and they're local as can be. Okay, we're not going to go into a lot more detail about United Policyholders. Here are two useful resources that we have here tonight, and they're free. We actually, if we've run out, we have we're still good, okay. You can request them. One of them is this yellow book, which is something that we give out to disaster survivors, as most people prefer the word survivor to victim, all over the country. And a lot of the chapters were written by people who've been there, or we have a chapter written by a CPA who specializes in advising casualty loss victims on the tax part, which, by the way, if you have an unreimbursed casualty loss, of course, you're going to want to, meaning if you don't have insurance and you have a big financial loss, you are going to want to consult with with an accountant. And best would be somebody who's worked with loss victims and knows those special provisions in the tax code that are designed to help disaster victims. Okay, so those two books, the flood insurance claim book is very technical, and it was written by a couple of guys out of Florida, and it's if you really want to understand your flood policy, it's a good handbook. It's like I said, it's pretty technical. Okay, what do we think priorities should be at this stage? Of course, drying out to avoid mold. And I'm sorry about that pink cloud. I don't know where it's coming from or what it's trying to tell us, but I can't make it go away. Okay, so priorities: getting educated, pacing yourself. You know, when something like this happens, it's a shock and it's scary. And I know there's kind of a feeling that it may not be over yet. So just know that, you know, you just have to keep yourselves healthy as much as you can and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And a great place to go from time to time if you want to check back on the flood program is floodsmart.gov. And I know that Norm has brought some materials, printed materials, but if you lose them in the pile of mail, which is what I would do if I came to a meeting like this, you can always go to floodsmart.gov, and it's a very user-friendly website, I think. Then our flood claim basics, which is attached to the agenda and our website. And then I think your third priority really needs to be documenting your damage. And by that I mean, if you, can I have a show of hands? Anybody here have a commercial loss, a business loss? Okay. So if you're just talking about a residential loss, then documenting is going to be, you know, everything that got damaged by the water or the mud or the debris. Then you're going to be, of course, listing it. You're going to inventory all your contents, and then the structural damage. Again, you also will be looking to create some sort of, we call it a scope of loss, but it's all that means is some document or set of documents in a package that as a whole describes everything that was damaged. So by doing that, and then that's how you document your losses. And some people will be preparing their own scopes of loss. Some people will hire professional help to do that. And a lot of you will probably need to be working with professionals to get them to estimate damage, put prices on things, and then you combine it. You may be working with different trades, and each of them will need to give you an estimate, and then you're going to put all that together. Okay, so, and I say, like, you want to do this documenting no matter what your insurance situation is. If you have no insurance or if you have it, you still need to do it. Because, again, like if you didn't have insurance or you came up short on your insurance, you might want to apply for an SBA loan. You're going to need this documentation. If you want to take a casualty loss on your taxes, you're going to need this documentation. So that is a very concrete goal that we recommend that you focus on. And we have a recovery diary also that we give people, which is it's basically a tool. It was designed by a lot of our volunteers saying, well, what do you wish you had in hindsight? And they say, I wish I had help staying organized, because it can be very overwhelming with all the mess, the muck, and then the numbers and the paperwork and everything. So we do recommend a diary, and you're welcome to use ours if you'd like. Or any notebook will do. Okay, flood policies have different rules than home policies, and you're going to hear more about this from Norm and Matt, that they don't provide you with your temporary rent like a home policy does, that if you didn't buy contents coverage as well, then you might not have that, which came as a big surprise to me and a lot of other people after Hurricane Katrina. There are very nitpicky rules in the flood policies. I don't mean to say nitpicky in a bad way. I guess I should just say specific. And you know, if you pick up that flood insurance claims handbook, you'll see what I mean. There are different requirements for depending on when your home was built, and what its elevation is, and whether you have a basement, and all kinds of things like that. But you know, the National Flood Insurance Program, through which, if you have flood insurance, you probably have it through the NFIP. Does anybody here have a flood insurance that's not through the federal insurance program, Lloyd's or? No, okay. So most people who have flood insurance do have it through the federal government. So it's not like a home policy where there's like hundreds of different kinds with different words. There really are only, what is it, three forms of flood insurance that the federal government sells, and all the wording is the same. And God bless them, they have, Congress is their boss. So Congress, Congress wrote the policies, I think, probably at some point, and Congress sets the rates, and Congress tells them a lot of what they can and can't do. And so those of you who have filed a flood claim have what's called an independent adjuster probably assigned, not probably, definitely. So you have an adjuster that's from the flood program. Before I go, does anybody here have flood insurance? Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Okay, so the adjuster that is working with you is a freelancer. It's generally going to be somebody who works for what's called an independent adjusting firm, which is really not. It's kind of a misnomer in my opinion, because these independent adjusters you couldn't hire one of them. Only an insurance company can hire one. If you wanted to hire your own adjuster to be your representative, you would have to hire a public adjuster. An independent adjuster is basically a hired gun that insurance companies use to supplement their staff. So the flood adjusters. Does anybody here have an adjuster that's working with them that was out at and working Hurricane Sandy? Anybody? Okay, so your adjusters they might be local, or they're probably not. But in any event, they may have varying degrees of training and background. This may be their first flood adjusting loss, or it may be their 100th. But in any event, there's some that's just a piece of information. Okay, Norm is going to explain about the proof of loss rules. I'm assuming that the 60 days will be enforced here. So what that means is that with a home insurance claim, you have a lot more time to file the claim after your loss. With a flood claim, it's very strict. It is 60 days, and the proof of loss is a very specific form that you have to fill out, and it has to be sworn, and it's a lot more buttoned down than a home claim. With a home claim, you can, some insurance companies will take your proof of loss on, they take it on a notebook paper, or that's a bit of an exaggeration, but they'll be a little more loose in terms of what you have to give them. And sometimes they will extend deadlines, pretty often actually. But the flood program just doesn't have that flexibility unless there's been a declaration such as there was with Sandy. But that, because of the massive scale, I don't think there's going to be an extension for you guys. So 60 days from the date of your damage is when you got to get that proof of loss in, and Norm will talk a little bit more about that. For years and years, I would tell people, people say, oh my gosh, I feel stressed out. I need to get my proof of loss done, but I'm not done tallying everything up. I'm still waiting, for my contractor to give me his estimate, and I can't, I've got this set of china, and I haven't been able to figure out the value. And I say, well, okay, put where on the proof of loss where it says, total amount, I say undetermined, and then just put it in, and that way you've met the deadline. Well, you can't do that with a flood claim. So that's just something to be aware of. Now, if you can file a supplemental claim if you find later after you submitted the claim that there was more damage that you didn't know about, or some expert comes along and says, hey, somebody missed this and that, you absolutely can file a supplemental claim. But if you do, that's not going to affect your 1 year statute of limitations, which I don't want to go into great detail about here, but it's basically, if a dispute arises and you need to file a lawsuit, you only have a year from the date of your loss. So even the date that your claim was denied. So 60 days after your loss starts the clock ticking. And even if you submit a supplemental claim, it's not going to change that 1 year from the date of the denial, okay? So the appeal process, if you do get into a disagreement with the adjuster and you can't resolve it, or you feel that the adjuster's decision is wrong, and let's say the adjuster says, okay, we're going to give you $30,000 and your contractor is telling you that it's going to cost $70,000, but you can't get the adjuster to budge, you can file an appeal, and again, Norm will explain that to you. And then there's also an appraisal process for flood claims, which is another way of resolving a dispute. Okay, documenting your loss. You obviously everybody knows basically what happened, but each property gets affected a little bit differently. So you definitely want to understand as much as you can about everything that happened to your property in the event. So very often people have hidden damage, foundation damage, even roof damage if the house moved from the force of the water. And a lot of people don't have the ability on their own to evaluate that, right? You would need professionals. And there are the kind of professionals that will get involved in a flood situation like this, a flood event, would be a soils engineer or civil engineer, of course contractors, and then there may be mold. There may be guys that will be coming around. I'm sure there have been that specialize in mold remediation or hazardous waste abatement. If the water, released some of your ceiling tiles and there was some asbestos, you're going to need to work with people like that and get their estimates. And of course the board up contractors and all that. So these are all people that can help you, but of course they can also sometimes be a part of the problem if you aren't careful about who you hire. So just be, of course, very careful in any situation. It's amazing, even after disasters, you think, how could anybody take advantage of people who have had something awful happen? But believe me, there are plenty of people that will come around and not end up being very helpful. So checking references, hiring local, pretty important. Okay, paying for inspections and reports can be very unfortunate thing to have to do. If you feel like, well, I've got insurance, why shouldn't my insurance company pay? Well, they may. But they may not. And if it's your property and if you feel like, geez, I really feel like I need a professional to look at this and evaluate the condition of my home. I mean, for most people, your home is your biggest asset. So, if it's a matter of, shelling out from your own pocket to pay for an expert report, it's often worth it. Just to really know how much your damage is from somebody who really knows what they're doing and knows how to inspect a water loss like this. Okay, what is common questions? Did the slide just jump? Did I do that? Obviously, you all know now probably that your home insurance has a flood exclusion. Did anybody put a claim into their home insurance? Are they offering to pay any?
Told me that nothing damaged by flood was covered under the home policy.
So, and that's a very hard thing for people. If you paid insurance for a long time and you weren't aware of that exclusion, it's very painful. Now, sometimes in a flood, if there's a flood event where there's rain and if a tree fell on your house during the event, or if a branch broke a window and rain fell in, then you might actually have some coverage on your home policy. But if it was just rising water, then it's not a fight to fight. In fact, we did invite the Division of Insurance, which is part of in Colorado. It's under this umbrella agency called DORA. and the Division of Regulatory Agencies. And, your insurance department doesn't have any authority over flood insurance. It's all the federal program. Although I guess, well, anyway, we'll go. Anyway, so they are not here. They would not be a source of help to you on a flood insurance claim problem, right? But if you have what I said, if you had like any damage to your house that might be covered under your home policy, such as, you know, a tree breaking the window and rain coming in, then, and you feel that your home insurance should be paying some of it and they're not, then you would call DORA. You could go to them and get help from the Division of Insurance. Okay. Whose responsibility is it to investigate the damage? Well, if you have insurance, it's absolutely the insurance company's responsibility to conduct a thorough and fair investigation. And a lot of the time they do, but it does depend a little bit on the adjuster that you get. So if you feel like there's something missing in the investigation, that's where you need to get your own experts. Okay, let's try to move on here. Help is available, absolutely. You're not alone. There are people at the flood program above your adjuster that you can go to, and Norm will talk about that. Your local, state, and elected officials, United policyholders, case managers with your Aspen Point, and if any of you end up working with the city. If there are any case managers here, they can help. Neighbors and friends are all sources of help. And of course, your agent or broker. If you have flood insurance, you absolutely can talk with your agent or broker about questions that you have. That's a free resource, the Ask an Expert forum on our website. You can ask a question from the comfort of your home. And we have a whole bunch of volunteers from all over the country. They can't communicate with you. They can't email you, but you can ask them a question. And the guys who wrote this book are in our volunteer corps. So anytime I have a flood insurance question, I ask them, although now I'm going to be calling Matt or Norm. Okay, so that's something that you can use. You can register at our website. It's free, and you can ask any question about insurance. What are the most common problems people have with flood claims? The details, the exclusions and the limits. There's a $250,000 cap, which I hope will not be a problem for any of you guys. There is the basement exclusion, which probably may be a problem for some people. There are, as I said, there's no ALE. There's the contents. Your contents losses are going to be paid not on a replacement cost basis, but on an actual cash value basis, and that's very hard for people because you feel like, oh my God, I'm not collecting what it's going to cost me to repair, but that is just the way the program is designed. Okay, and so you can complain to your Congress people about that, right, Sallie? Don't complain to your local elected officials. They have no jurisdiction over it. It's your Congress people. And then disputes over allegedly pre-existing damage is a very common reason that people get into the crosshairs with their adjusters. That's a big issue right now in New Jersey and Long Island with foundations. Was the foundation damaged before, or was it because of the water? And that could be a problem area. I hope it won't be for any of you. Okay, frequently heard. I didn't think I needed flood insurance. My place never flooded before. Very common reason that people don't have it. I was told by my agent or broker that I didn't need it. Also pretty common. Never from your agency, of course, or yours. I thought contents coverage was included. Very common. I couldn't afford it. I left that off the list. That's a big one. A big one. And I was never told I could buy excess flood insurance. I would have bought it. Well, that would only be a problem if you hit that $250,000 max on your flood policy. But again, I hope none of you are going to be in that situation. How to avoid problems: stay organized by keeping a diary. Give your flood adjuster a chance to do the right thing. Cooperate with reasonable requests for information. Advocate for yourself by being politely assertive. That's our phrase. You know, we want people to not be a pushover, but also to understand that, you know, the adjusters are people, and you get more flies with honey. So if you can keep as much as possible, a friendly relationship with the adjuster, that's always good. Not always possible, but always good. Okay, get help when you need it. So what about my agent or broker? Will they help with my claim? I think we'll have Matt touch on that. Some people may be angry if they don't have flood insurance. Why didn't my agent or broker recommend that I buy it? And that is certainly could be a legitimate question for anyone who's sitting here with flood damage that doesn't have it. But again, if your agent or broker recommended it to you, and you didn't buy it, then you don't have an argument. If you said to your agent or broker, I think I need it, and they talked you out of it, well, then you could definitely pursue that. All right, so we're not going to get into any more on that. We're going to move quickly to our next speaker. Just know a few more tools that we give if you need them that are free. Thanks to El Paso County, by the way, which has made it possible for us to be here and give out our materials free of charge. So if you're computer type and you need to do an inventory, we have a free flash drive. It's preloaded with an inventory spreadsheet that's very extensive. It lists everything you could possibly have, room by room, and then you can just go through it and fill it out for your situation. Okay. I want to thank again El Paso County Commissioner Sallie Clark and her colleagues and the staff at the county. FEMA Region 8, that's a typo there, FEMA Region 8. Flood Insurance Services, Inc., that's Matt and Steve's company. Carla Hurd Price back there, Carrie Olivier, and the El Paso County Housing Authority. And the mayor for making us feel so welcome here and giving us an opportunity to share our organization's expertise with you. So we're not going anywhere. I've been working with Sallie for a long time, and we will be happy to come back and do another workshop, and we will be continuing to be available to you guys. You know, you can email us. Carrie and Carla are just down the road, and you certainly know where to find the mayor, and he'll have my cell phone. So I wish you all very good luck, and please don't be shy during the Q&A. We have some of the best experts you could have here, and so tap into them. Thank you very much. Our next speaker, Nora Mashford with FEMA. I'm going to get your slides fired up here, and I can tell from my 5 minutes of conversation that Norm is very much the expert here.
Impassioned. Thank you, Sallie. Thank you, Amy. Amy, you did a very good job. I don't think I've got anything left to say.
No.
At any rate, I want to thank you for the opportunity. We've been doing this for 45 years, the NFIP, and yet how many people have heard of us? We constantly have a problem with really getting our story told. So this is a good opportunity. We want to tell you a little bit about what we do, tell you a little bit about why we do it, and then we want to answer all your questions. We're part of FEMA. Our whole objective is to come out and to help you recover. Now, being part of FEMA, we're also an insurance product. So I want to make that point very, very clear, that as you try and compare the two of us, we have one common goal, and that's try to help you, but two different approaches. One of them is try to, through recovery and response and so on, to come out and help people. The other is to sell you a product that will help you through the insurance tool to be whole again. I don't know, can you guys see that? Maybe I just, could we try the light?
You wanna try it?
Yeah, see if that, we're not gonna get romantic. That's better. Okay. Again, I'm Norm Ashford, and you can see my name's up here. And also I have Erin May with me. Erin, she's back there. So if you have questions, seek us out. And I'll go a little further than Amy. I'm gonna give you my phone number at the end. And you're not gonna have to look it up. You just open that phone number up and you can call me, and I'll offer to help. A legitimate offer to answer any of your questions, try and make this a little easier. Now she made a reference, and Amy, I don't know. Did you say we were nitpicky? That was a polite way she's saying that we're just a little unusual. And we really are. If you try and compare this to your regular insurance policy, you're going to find it is a little different. And there's reasons for that. So part of that is I'm going to try and give you a little background, a little history of where we come from and what we're doing. Start with, why is the federal government in the insurance business? I'll tell you right now, we don't want to be. The largest single thing that damages property in the United States is flooding. You ever think about that? I know with our fires lately, that may be hard to understand, but nationally, there's more damage done from flooding than anything. It's so serious. There's not one standard insurance company that'll write flood. Now you take the State Farm, the Farmers, American Family, the Travelers, the Hartford, I can go on here, over 120 companies, and they will not write flood insurance. Wonder why? Isn't that unusual? The profit motive is still out there. If they could make a profit, wouldn't they be writing this? It's that hard. And I'll be truthful. Matt here, we'd love to have Matt around because we do have someone helping us do this. But for years, for 45 years, the only single way that you could protect your home, your property, your largest single investment most of you have for flood is the NFIP. Okay, so we are, and I always say this, nobody buys it, we're doing the impossible. If all these other companies can't write flood and make it pay, make it work, how can we? What do we know as the government that allows us to write this stuff and make it work? And I'll tell you, nothing. We have to be very, very careful. So we've created a product that is a little unique. And if we have to be picky, it's because it's that important that we stay stable, solvent, and around for you. Okay? How many of you think the federal government that somehow this is a subsidized program, it's your own tax money at work? Come on. It's not. We do not get one penny of money from the federal government. Now we have the ability to borrow from Congress if we get to a certain place, but it's a debt and we have an interest rate, and incidentally that interest rate is higher. We have to pay the Treasury back than we could get it if we went to a local bank. So we have to be, in insurance terminology, we have to be actuarially based and actuarially sound. Make that real simple, is we have got to collect money so we can pay our claims. Simple as that. We have a bad year, how are we going to pay these claims? We've got to have enough money to pay these claims, so we're always walking this line of being there for you and still being able to stay solvent. So for that reason, we haven't tried to be everything to you. This policy doesn't have any bells and whistles on it. She mentioned we don't have additional living expense. That was on purpose. I'll tell you the truth, we don't pay for a deck on your house. That sounds strange. We'll come and pay for your house. We look at that deck and we say, hold it. Rains on that deck, snows on that deck, you'll wash it off. You take care of that for us. And I'll make it easier for us to keep this program going and keep the prices affordable. Now let me go back to that. If we're not subsidized, and yet Congress has come to us and they've said, you create a program so these people have somewhere they can buy flood insurance. So we have to create that. But what if we get the rates so high nobody can afford it? Defeats itself, doesn't it? Or you want to buy flood insurance, you go out and say, it's too high, I can't afford it. We weren't there for you. So we're always walking this line, this tight line by being there for you and covering the most important things, asking you to cover some of the other things. And in doing so, we can keep this thing affordable. And we think that works for everybody. I said we wouldn't pay for your deck. Okay, you pay for your deck, what, like $2,000 or $3,000? We think you can afford that. But by having these restrictions in the policy, it keeps it so we're there for you when you lose the whole home or you lose all your contents. We'll be there to take care of that. And again, at a price people can afford. So that's kind of the background of what we're trying to do. We're non-profit, it's a government, there's no subsidies. We have to be available to everybody now. You know, regular insurance, they take a look, and if you're a bad risk, they won't take it. If you have 2 drunken driving tickets and 4 speeding tickets, can you get auto insurance? Not through the regular companies. We've got one lady that's turned in 39 claims, and we still have to insure. We cannot underwrite in any way. We cannot make a judgment. If Jack the Ripper came and tendered premium to me, I'd have to write a policy for it. So this is available to everybody. So without it being able to pick and choose and to be available to everybody and to be affordable, you can sort of see the line that we're walking. Having said all this, I love this program. And I'll tell you why. A lot of reasons. And usually I'm reminded of this after a big event. And the people come to me. And I can remember cases where, a grown man would be sitting at my desk crying he didn't buy flood insurance. And I'm thinking, why didn't you buy the flood insurance? We could have you back where you belonged. So that's always a concern. And when I see the people that did buy and we come in and we put them back the way they were, you can see the difference. I know that what we do is important. And I'll tell you even further. I was back at Sandy and we paid 165,000 claims. You guys realize that big? And if we didn't exist, if we weren't there with our policy, doing what it can do, 165,000 people, what would they have done? Where would they have been? So we're trying to be here for you and to do a good job and to be available, to be affordable, and to always have that balance between giving you as strong coverage as we can and still being affordable. Okay, then it's kind of referred to before. A lot of people, when they come to us, they say, hey, it's a government, you should just pay this. No, we're an insurance product. And that essentially means that we've got a contract with you. We've got terms and conditions. We'll do this if you do that. So when it comes right down to as much as we'd like to pay for this, that, and the other, we really have to pay for what the policy says it'll pay. It's only fair to all of our other policyholders that we do that. So we're always trying to be as fair as we can and still be available for you and still be as affordable as we can. Okay, I've sort of referenced this, but one of the most common things that we run into when we have a situation like this, people said, well, I didn't think I could buy. And Amy mentioned all those good reasons. I've never had water in my yard. I lived there 30 years. Why I need flood insurance. I didn't think I could buy. All those things. Let me just say real quickly, everybody can buy. Everybody in this room. Now we have certain things called non-participating communities. And there's just a few and none in this area. But these communities have not agreed to join with us. A person couldn't buy. But 96% of the communities in the United States have joined with us, and everybody can buy. No qualifications. Okay? We've got another thing that's commonly not understood. Owners can buy of a property, but so can the renters. Suppose your landlord doesn't buy. You can still buy for your contents. Even if he doesn't carry it, he may carry it on the building, you may carry it on the contents. You can buy building alone, you can buy contents alone, or you can buy building or contents. We'll let you write it either way. I'm not sure. Do you see all this? Okay. We also have misunderstanding that comes with how we rate the insurance. Now, anytime in insurance, we always try and charge a rate commensurate with the risk we take. If you have high risk, it should be higher price, right? If you live hanging over the river, shouldn't that be more expensive than somebody's up on the side of the hill? So we're constantly doing that. And how we do that is we come in and we hire local professionals to look at the area. And essentially what they do is they tell us where the water's going to pool and puddle when an event happens. That's what we hire them to do. We say, take a look. Here's the slope. Here's the pathway. Because of gravity, water's always going to be trying to get to the lowest elevation it can. So he says, as it heads to the lowest elevation, am I in the way? Or is it going to get caught here and pool and puddle like it? So we hire these people to ahead of time. We have them take a particular event. We say, when this much rain falls, where will the water be if we come out the next day? And they do that, and we create these flood insurance rate maps. These maps define your likelihood of flooding. I can be sitting in New York City, and I can tell you the likelihood of flooding in your property here. That's good because it helps us decide how much we should charge you helps us give you advice and help on when you go to build, how to build flood safe, how to avoid these floods when they come. But creating these maps, we also get misunderstandings that people says, well, my map says that I'm in a low flood hazard area, I don't need flood insurance. So we want to make that point. Everybody needs flood insurance, some more than others, but that'll be reflected in the price. And the proof of that is, we have our most serious area we call an A zone. It's a special flood hazard area. And you guys didn't hear me say this. It's also known as a 100-year flood. Okay? That's our most serious thing. If people live in that, the banks will even, they won't even make you a loan unless you get insurance. It's our most serious thing. So we don't have a whole lot of trouble convincing people in the A zone, special flood hazard area, the importance of flood insurance. But as you move out into our less hazardous area, it's like you're saying, well, you're telling me I'm not likely to flood. Well, I'm telling you you're less likely to flood. But contradictory to that, every year when we add up all of our claims and we take a look and say, how many happened in this zone, that zone, and that zone, we're always between 25 and 30%. In some years, as high as 45% of the people who flooded were in a zone that we said was our least likely to flood. So just keep that in mind. If you hear, I'm in a low to moderate flood risk zone, just ask for our cheapest policy. But consider that you still have a 35% chance of flooding on the average. Okay, some of you also, I mentioned, if you're in A zone, the bank will probably require insurance, and that's true also. The banks will require insurance. It's just the old collateral thing. They think, the idea being, that if the property flooded away, you got to get a new house, right? How are you going to buy a new house and pay for the old mortgage? So they're figuring, you're not going to pay for that old mortgage. So they're saying, no, no, no. If you live in this zone, you have to buy flood insurance so we know that that house floods away, our loan will be paid. So understand we're involved in that, and some of you will be impacted by that. Okay, how do you purchase flood insurance? There's always a question of that. When we first started this program, we sold it through NFIP. So you had to come to the government to buy. You know how good we were at selling insurance? We got people accuse us of being a lot like dealing with the IRS. So you know, buy flood insurance to the IRS. So we said, no, we got to make this simple. So what we did is we created something called Write Your Own Program. And essentially what that did is we combined with all your regular insurance companies, wherever you have your auto or your homeowner, all these various companies, we said, sell our product, we'll give you part of the commission for doing it. What we were allowed to do then is make it easy for any of you to find where to buy insurance. Just go in who has your car insurance, tell them you want to buy flood. Wherever you have your homeowner insurance, tell them you want to have your flood, and it's that simple. So please understand that there should be no problem, anybody can buy, and it shouldn't be any harder than just going to your regular insurance agent and asking him to get a quote for you on flood insurance. Now, it's our product, but sold by all these various companies for us. And of course, what are we doing? We're tapping into the relationship that you have with your insurance agent. You like this guy's done a good job, why have to deal with anybody else? So that's where you buy your flood insurance. So that's pretty much the story of whether you need it or where you buy it. And there's one other thing that I want to mention, and that is buy now. And I'm being just a little flippant when I say that. But there is an urgency to buy it. We have a 30-day wait on this policy. Say, why put a 30-day wait on it? Well, nobody buy this thing until the river's rising. Think about that. Can you go buy maternity insurance in the 9th month? Well, that's what was happening to us. Everybody was coming in, they're saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to flood. And they say, give me one of those policies. And so we were just having a heck of a time trying to make this thing work. I mean, you give me $300 and I give you $250,000, how does that work? So we said, we've got to have this, if people are buying it because they want protection. Just like you buy your auto and your home and your life insurance, you want protection. So you're buying it for that reason, not because the river's rising. So we put the 30-day wait on it. You know, originally we had no wait. You know when people bought their policies? After the fact. We put a 5-day wait on. We had people sandbag around their house until the 5 days up and then take sandbags away. So we thought, to make this insurance be insurance, we have to have a 30-day wait so that we don't figure anybody can know in advance 30 days you're going to flood, can you? I mean, you can read the future maybe, but you can't know 30 days ahead you're going to buy. That's the reason we have that there. So we know you're buying it for protection, not just trying to turn a claim in on us. Again, if we're going to pay a $250,000 claim, we've got to have a lot of people buy that policy, let us have their money when they're not having claims in, so we can accumulate so we have enough to pay claims. Maybe it's your turn this year, it's your turn next year, your turn next year, or we all may get our turn, but the years that you don't have a turn, you're still contributing so we have money to be able to pay claims. So we had the 30-day wait. And again, you know, with the situation, you've heard this so often, I don't want to say it again, but things aren't going to be back to normal until, on average, about 7 years. Could be faster, could be slower, but 7 years, conditions won't be like they were. So that means every time it clouds up, you got to start thinking about, is this a big one? What's going to happen? So I guess what I'm saying is, buy now. Maybe the floods happened. Do you know what's going to happen 30 days from now? I don't know. I think we're getting towards winter. It's looking pretty good. But then again, next spring, what if we have some big rain? Don't wait next spring for the big rains to go by. Buy it now. Get it in place. Have that peace of mind. Sleep good at nights. And then, if a bad event occurs, you're protected. We went up and did Boulder about 3 years ago. Remember when they had the big fire up in Boulder? It was similar to your situation. And we went up there and we worried and we worried and worried and got the people to buy. So far we've dodged a bullet. You just can't tell. And yet they may get a bad rain tomorrow night. And I just hope they bought the policy, because then we can help. Okay. I think Amy hit this pretty well. Homeowner policies don't cover this. Again, because it's so difficult to write, there's no way to buy it. Our coverage limits are up there, if you can see them. Our regular home will write $250,000. I know some of you are saying, because homes have gone up so much that maybe that's not enough. Some cases it's plenty. Some cases it might not be enough. But we've pretty well set with that with Congress, and they look at it to raise it. But the chance of having a total of over $250,000 probably still adequate. You can buy $100,000 worth of contents, okay? If it's non-residential, that would be a business, or that would be a hotel, a motel, and so on. You can buy $500,000 and $500,000 on contents. And there will be, of course, the deductibles, the various deductibles we have. But I think you'll find that the policies are reasonable, not as cheap as we'd like them, but they're reasonable and they'll cover so much. But again, with the idea that you help us on some of the stuff. It'll be the small stuff that we need your help with. Okay. Let me, somehow there's a slide missing. Let me touch on claims. Don't look up there. Let me touch on claims. Okay, essentially, since we have this write your own organization with all the agents, it's just real simple. Go to your agent and say they had a claim. That simple. You don't have to get a hold of us. You don't have to deal with us. You go to them, and they require you to file that proof of loss. As Amy mentioned, that's a form, and we put 60 days on it. To say we never varied in that 60 days, I'm not going to say, because what happens to people if they find out they don't have to get in 60 days, they wait till 90 and so on. So that's really to encourage you to get that in. We're not trying to make it hard on you. Get the proof of loss signed and get it in. And if there are items that you can't define at this time, just say that. We understand. But we do have this concern. Most of these adjusters that go out and settle these adjustments, they're not ours. They don't work for us. They're independent experts, okay? And they're assigned these claims, and they go out and they get this claim, and they process it, and we pay them a fee for processing it, okay? And to tell you the truth, there's even an encouragement, not an encouragement, but there's always the more work that they do, the more money they'll make. Okay, you're picking up on this. If it's a denial, they're not going to make as much money as if it's approved and it's paid out. So we tend to think these adjusters are doing a good job for us because they have every reason, their income, every reason to do a good job and to look at that claim and to pay it the best they can. Sometimes they deny a claim. And our thought would be, if they don't make as much money denying it, they must really believe that that claim doesn't deserve to be paid. Isn't that logical? Now, having said that, I won't try and tell you they don't make mistakes. So that's when our appeal process comes in. We have this first thing that we tell these agents: the minute that claim's assigned to them, they got to contact you in 48 hours. If they don't, you call me. Okay? 48 hours, they've got to contact you. Maybe they just contact you and say, I received a claim. What's your schedule? Doesn't mean they're out there in 48 hours. Could be it just doesn't work out, their schedule, your schedule. Maybe the waters are still rising. I think there was one even here in town where they still had water in the basement. It's hard to adjust a claim till the water's gone. Okay? So they have to contact you in 48 hours. They come out, they make this adjustment. They send it to us to pay. It's paid with our money, not their money. And they get a fee for doing this. Okay? If there is a question, they haven't done it right, that's when our appeal process comes in. So you get a letter that says, here's what we're paying, or here's what we're not paying. Denial. It'll say, you have a right of appeal, here's where to send it. And again, the 60 days is to get it moving. Okay, you get that claim into us, that appeal into us, and we take a look to see if we think that adjuster did his job right. You know, we're paying him good money. And if he didn't do the job right, that's not fair to you or us. So that's what the appeal process is. And once it goes through the appeal process, we have a certain number of days. You have 60 days to get in. We have to have an answer to you in 90 days. And there is one final thing. If it's ever a case where there's just a total disagreement, a lot of times you get your expert, we get our expert, we get an umpire. Okay? And that's only fair because, you know, people can see things differently. Okay? And then, of course, you always have a right, since it's the federal government, if it's just wrong, you always have your right to go to court. So we're trying to do this right. We don't have any reason not to pay these claims. We want them paid right, but like everybody else, we don't want to be taken advantage of. We want the claim to be according to the terms and the conditions that's in the policy. And where do I get in this thing? Occasionally, there are claims that have gone in, there's appeals that have gone in, and there's glitches, things haven't worked. Maybe you said I sent my appeal in, it's been 90 days, I haven't heard. That's when you get a hold of me. And I'm in Denver, and we'll look into the claim and we'll try and find out what we can do to get rolling, get moving faster for you. So that's kind of the background of what we're trying to do. I won't try and tell you we're perfect, but I try to tell you this program does a good job. I have insurance experience of going 40 years, and I've been on all different sides of the thing. And again, I won't tell you it's perfect, but I'm proud to be part of it. I know we do a good job, and when I get something that's fallen out of the thing, that's like 1%. You never hear from the 99% that this all worked good for. So I want to be available to you, and I'll have my number up here later so that you can call me. And we're going to be standing up here, myself and Aaron, who I pointed out before. And if you have specific questions, specific cases of your situation, please let us know about it and let's answer the questions. Probably going to find that slide I was looking for now. No, that's in the thing. So let me say Flood Smart. That's what I want to do. Amy mentioned Flood Smart. There's just a world knowledge. That's our website. You go in there and you can look up this, that, and the other. Things that I've said you're not sure of, go in there and look it up. It's all in there. And there's a number, okay? And then there's my number, 303-235-4912. And Aaron's number, 303-550-3650. 58. I'm sorry, Aaron. So I want to pass this on. You know, as I said earlier, I said, nobody writes this insurance. Well, that's not true. We actually have some help through Matt, and he's going to talk to us here in a minute. Matt represents Lloyd's of London, and they do a good job. We wish they'd write for us all over the country. But here, it's an advantage to you that you have this source as well as their source. They do a good job, and I'll let Matt tell you a little more about it.
So before we do that, I just want to mention that, hang on 1 second here, that this flood insurance claims handbook that Norma's brought actually walks you through all these steps. So if you haven't picked that up, I recommend that you do. And Sallie, did you want to acknowledge something?
Yeah. I just wanted to mention Mike McCarthy is also here from El Paso County Public Health. So if you have questions with regard to some of the cleanup efforts that you're doing and safety issues, please feel free to just raise your hand, Mike, so he knows. And we do have quite a bit of information too that's linkable when you go to waldorecovery.com as well, directly to the Public Health Department.
Would you repeat Norm's phone number? I can't read it.
Sure, it's 303-235-4912. And we'll work with Norm and Aaron to get this information up on our website too, so you can get this information later.
Great. Okay, so I want to introduce Matt Herr. Did I pronounce it right? Okay. Of Flood Insurance Services. And take it away, Matt.
Hello, guys. Thanks for inviting us. Steve, my business partner, is here as well. But boring flood insurance, right? No, that's what I hear all the time. Why do I have to have it? The bank's making me have it. Well, like Norm said, a lot of A zones that you have a mortgage, you have to have it. And we write actually through the NFIP, through what most of you guys have here, and also Lloyd's of London. And Lloyd's of London has been around since 1688, the 17th century. So, I mean, they write flood insurance around the world. So the United States wasn't even here when they were writing insurance. So they have a lot more experience. The one thing that I'll say that is probably important to tell you is the NFIP here in the United States, in my opinion, of course, it's not, most people buy flood insurance because they have to. In other countries, they don't do that. They buy it like a homeowner's policy. They want it, they need it, so there's a bigger pool of money to spread around. And Lloyd's actually writes in 49 states. So we have actually in Colorado about several thousand policies here. And you don't hear about it as much, but I hope that'll change. Last July, Congress passed a law that we've been writing flood insurance for Lloyd's for almost 13 years, but it'll change drastically, especially with the rates going up with NFIP. We have some of the things I want to tell you is there's a big difference between the NFIP policy and the Lloyd's policy. And the NFIP policy is more it was designed, correct me if I'm wrong, it was designed to be more of an emergency policy by design, and through the years they've added more and more to it, which is good. Our Lloyd's policy actually makes you a little more whole, like a homeowner's policy, an HO5 or HO3 policy. So we have a claim right now, real close by this building, that's in our Lloyd's, and it's a pretty large claim. It's a commercial policy. The good news is they have a lot more coverage on the Lloyd's side than they do the NFIP. So that's the good news. I'm not up here to just promote Lloyd's. We do write through the NFIP in all 50 states, and we have for almost 40 years our agency. So it's been around. We do LOMAs too to get you out of the flood zone. It's kind of opposite of what we do. And flood zone determinations, a whole series of everything pretty much related to flood. But I'm here for questions. If you guys have any questions at all about Lloyd's. One thing I want to tell you that's real important, I think, related to the coverage is the basement. Where does it flood? Doesn't flood in the attic, does it? I mean, I guess it could, but the basement's a big deal. That's where the water's going to go, and we do cover contents in the basement. The NFIP, they have very limited coverage. Let's keep it clean. No, it's a good policy too, but it's Congress can't, like Norm was saying, it's you have to limit. It can't be everything to everybody. So it's better than nothing, but I would like to see if anyone wants to compare the two policies. We actually go up to $5 million of coverage for the single family house, and on commercial we go up to $10 million. So if you need more coverage than that, then I can't help you. But that covers most people. We have, as far as claims go, since we write in all 50 states, we have experienced a disaster, Hurricane Sandy. We've had almost 800 claims, I think it was, in counting. We got 3 that still aren't closed, and those are through the NFIP. We write excess policies too. So we work with agents. You say, oh, you're an agent, like my agent over here. That's great. We don't compete. We don't write auto home. So we actually work with a lot of agents. So just pass their name on and we can talk to them, or you can call us direct. And I'll be over here with my cards. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just want to make sure. The Lloyd's policy does include ALE, other structures coverage, a lot of the things that the NFIP policy does not cover, correct?
Yeah, this is a very good question, actually. Going back to the question we were talking about earlier, or not the question, but I was telling you about the basement coverage. The Lloyd's policy also covers loss of use, which the current NFIP does not cover whatsoever. You can't even buy it if you want it. It also covers replacement cost, if you choose to buy that. We have replacement costs you can buy going up to $5 million or 10. But the other thing is, if you want the ACV minimum premium policy stripped down, our policy is still going to cover you more as far as your loss of use and your replacement cost goes. And I think that answered your question, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions? No. Oh, yes.
Well, can you talk about Lloyd's eligibility criteria? Like
Okay.
how picky are they?
Yeah. Okay. So most people think, why would you buy a Lloyd's policy? You know, they're never going to pay. That's just completely false. Sandy, they paid out almost $20 billion. That's something that isn't advertised, but 42% of the country, State Farm, Allstate, all the big boys are reinsured by Lloyd's of London, which is funny. All the airplanes you ride in. But as far as the underwriting process, it's very quick. We have a underwriting tool that we use. It's called, there's several of them we use, but anyhow, we plug your address in, and 9 out of 10 houses or businesses in Colorado will be able to insure. So, I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, as far as getting coverage with us, we don't require an elevation certificate, which is a big thing. Go ahead.
I have a question. When we just purchased a house and had to buy flood insurance, and we were told to definitely go with an NFIP program because private companies can write flood insurance, but they can, without notice, if they think there's an imminent flood, they can cancel you without any retribution or anything. And to me, that was a risk I wasn't willing to take.
So the question is, does Lloyd's cancel you because you have a claim? And the answer is, can they? Yes. Just like any other insurance company. However, we write Lloyd's in Colorado and other states, and the other big agents that write Lloyd's, we have this conversation quite often. It comes up, and the answer is we've never canceled one, and we've wrote Lloyd's now for 13 years. So we've had claims in 4 Mile Canyon up in Boulder. We got hit pretty hard. I know the NFIP probably wasn't hit as hard, but we had some pretty bad claims actually, and we still have them to this day. So
Can you cancel a policy before an event? If you think that, like we are now so susceptible to flooding, say next June you decide, our risk is too high, can your company
so the question is,
cancel a policy?
yeah, it's a good question, very good question actually. DORA's not here, I wish they were, but DORA actually regulates us. So we have to pay surplus lines, or we have to pay tax into it, and they regulate us. So when you buy a contract, just like any other insurance policy, auto, home, whoever it is, it's a 12 months contract, at least on and like the NFIP, we cannot cancel you whatsoever. So you could have a claim in theory, let's say you had a 12-month policy, you could have a claim every month. We still can't get off the books to cancel you. You know, that's kind of a real extreme example there, but I mean, it's a contract you're buying. Otherwise, we're in trouble. And that's not what actually Lloyd's is about. They're actually here to protect everyone else, and including at, you know, the commercial side as well, not just the residential side. But I think did that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. In the back.
Does Lloyd's cover things like bridges over a creek that provide the only legal access to someone's home that the NFIP doesn't cover?
Is it up in Boulder?
No, it's on Manitou Avenue.
Okay, because I had one in Boulder like that they called last year. Can I insure this bridge? And, well, the answer is no. It was an actual bridge itself, and they were actually making it their house. So, but the obvious, like something that extreme, the answer would be no. But I'm actually the cover holder or underwriter for Lloyd's. So if you guys would, if let's say that came on my desk, I would have to deny that one, of course. That's a little extreme, but I will say this. 98% of Colorado, I'll just speak Colorado since we're here, we can write in Lloyd's. That's a pretty high number. We have thousands of flood policies currently today. And one other thing I think it's real important to tell you, and don't get me wrong, I'm not here to bash FEMA. That's the NFIP program. That's not my goal here. We still write thousands of NFIP policies too. But the definition of a flood is, FEMA's definition is, the NFIP's definition is very 2 or more acres, and it's got to be, one of them has to be your property. Our definition is not that. We feel if there's a flood, you know, it's a flood, and there shouldn't be restrictions on that. So we had a guy in Littleton last year that had a flood loss. We had him through an NFIP carrier. We rewrote him through Lloyd's, and we actually covered that. The peril was flood related to hail, kind of a mixture. So we actually paid that claim out through our Lloyd's program. So I guess the takeaway is it's not as restrictive as most people think there is. I don't know why that is, but I'm here to help you guys out. So Aaron's got a question in the back.
What's your waiting period?
We have 15-day waiting period. Of course, if the flood's coming, yeah, 15 days it should come and go, hopefully.
We'll have flash flooding here. It would be different than like up in the North Dakota, South
Right.
Dakota, where it takes time and they know 15 days in advance that flood's coming.
Yeah.
Here, we would.
Other question?
Yeah, any restrictions in terms of age of the home? I think especially in this area, a lot of the homes are older,
We actually have
firm type.
no, we don't use elevation certificates. We have a cabin that's built in Boulder, actually in Silver Plume. It's 1846, so we don't have a restriction on that. The one thing I'll tell you though is we do replacement cost. So as long as that cabin has been completely updated, so we actually insure it to full value for replacement cost. It's on the historical registry and all that. But awesome little cabin. But we did have, actually there's 3 cabins. We paid 2 years ago claims on that. We still have them insured today. It was up in Boulder, the 4 Mile Canyon burn, same kind of thing that's going on here. So, yeah. So, the back there.
Hi, my name is Manny Vasquez. I own Gomez Canyon on Canyon Avenue. I got flooded out. A little bit of, I don't have flood insurance, I have business insurance. A little bit of water, got it all out. I'm not concerned about loss of product or mode or anything like that. I had 7 days closed in terms of revenue. My question to you, sir, in terms of insurance, and I know it's a 2-part question because you probably can't answer it, but I had information from another business owner where the chief of police closed Canyon Avenue from Friday to Friday. Official civil action closed. If I could have opened on Monday, for whatever reason, I could have, technically, right? But because our street was closed for 7 days. officially by the chief of police. My question to you is, how can I use that to approach my insurance? I have yet to contact them and say, hey, it doesn't matter if it was a flood, it could have been a fire, it could have been a tornado, it could have been anything. It was an official close of Cannon Avenue.
From the
Now,
flood,
how can
right?
I use, yeah, well, it
Okay.
doesn't matter, it's an official close, civil action.
So you're
Now,
lo-
I need to
yeah.
contact my PD, Mayor Snyder right there and all that, so I understand that. But at the same time, how can I use that to help me with my insurance and get my revenue back? I mean, I lost $6,000 over 7 days.
So you currently don't have a flood policy, but if you had one, what would it look like? Would it be covered? I think is what you want to ask me.
My question, sir, is a civil action, the street was closed officially by the city of Manitou Springs.
For safety reasons, and yeah. So
Yeah,
So
so
if I
that's-
wanted to open,
Yeah, so that's a loss of use that you're saying that was,
that's
if
correct.
you will, imposed on you by,
Correct.
So-
Now, I
City and-
understand I need more
and-
information from the city. My question to you, from an insurance
that's like
standpoint,
force majeure.
what do I need to do to go to my insurance people? Like, do I need official paperwork? What do I need to do to help me in my, talking to my insurance? Thank you.
so there's kind of two scenarios there. One is if you had that, if you had the NFIP flood policy,
I do not.
which you don't, but if you did, there'd be no coverage for loss of use, regardless of if the city closed it down or if it was just loss of use in your own building, it's loss of use. We cover that through Lloyd's. It would be covered, and so I guess that's the takeaway that I want you to see.
Well, that don't help me right now because I don't have that.
No, unfortunately, that's.
So how can you help me approach my
Yeah.
insurance policy?
You know what, let's take that question after the fact and we'll talk to you.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit later about that. I want to talk to you more about that. There's an idea I have for you, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Aaron?
What was my question? What were we just talking about? I had something. I'll forget it. Go on, I'll remember.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did someone else had their hand up? I think, did you?
Well, I
Or-
have a question, but it's more for the NFIP policy, and maybe
You can I can try at least, and then,
maybe you can help too from the Lloyd's perspective. From my understanding of the NFIP policy and the definition of flood, there's the rapid accumulation of water and or mud flow. However, a mudslide would not be covered under the flood insurance policy. However, I haven't found a clear definition of mudslide versus mud flow.
well, Norm, do you want to hit that? I'll do our Lloyd's definition after.
That is a tough question.
Increase my position.
If we had water that came and loosened the ground, but we never had flowing water, that would be a mudslide.
Gotcha.
If we got, I'll tell you how we do it with the adjusters, and this may sound a little corny. If it looks like a crumbled piece of chocolate cake, not covered. If it looks like a malted milk, it is.
Okay. Gotcha.
I know that's corny, but it's
I've been looking for that good visual definition, and I mean, that makes it a little clearer anyways.
That's a good.
And the Lloyd side too is identical. That's one thing that is identical as far as definition goes. Our Lloyd's policy also covers earthquake in Colorado here, and it also covers volcanic eruption. It's just part of what we offer, so it's a little more.
How about locusts?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to make one quick point. Anybody here who's looking at a Lloyd's policy who has a federally backed loan on your property, you need to make sure your lender is okay with the Lloyd's policy before you buy
Good
it.
question, or good comment. There's only one bank in the United States that I'm aware of that does not cover or doesn't like Lloyd's, and except when it's a non-participating, then they like them, or excess, is Flagstar Bank. Every other bank in the United States, home run. They actually prefer it now. So,
But double check, don't buy until you.
yeah, or have them call me because they're out of compliance. The NFIP allows it. Congress, I mean, I go on and on about it. So, But we're solid there, except for Flagstar, and they're actually have a well, that won't get into all that. So, does anyone else? Okay, question?
Lloyd's of London is out of London, England. Is that
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
So with the subscribers to your insurance policy, does the money stay in the United States, or does some of that money go back to England?
Both ways, actually. The exchange, well, this is kind of a complicated question, but it's the money pretty much stays in the United States, even though Lloyd's of London's outside the United States. Our money is worth less every day because of inflation. So they have America Lloyd's out of New York that actually is where most of the money stays in the United States, as well as we pay taxes every time there's a policy issued. So there's a trust fund that's in New York right now that has to be at all times $100 million for Lloyd's to pay claims. So when I go to pay, let's say your claim, I'm going into the resources here in the United States, and then the money comes from. They have to keep replenishing that at all times. So I think that answers. Okay.
But some of it goes back to England.
Yeah, some of it's a profit. Yeah. The interesting thing that I think is that not besides flood insurance, why we're all here, but 42% of the United States' insurance companies are reinsured by Lloyd's. It's just crazy how that. I don't know. It's just interesting fact to me. But
So I have two questions. One is how you might overlap or pick up where the federal insurance leaves off, because obviously the federal insurance is less expensive, I would imagine. The second thing is what is the affordability? Can you give us some examples of what a policy might cost?
yeah, that's a great question. If you're in an X zone and you get a PRP, preferred risk policy, the NFIP policy is definitely going to be your best, least expensive policy. But far as if you're in an A zone, which is mandatory purchase, and you're in the 100-year, like Norm was saying, that is going to be actually Lloyd's is actually 9 times, well, probably 8 to 9 times out of 10 less expensive. We're about 20% less than the FEMA policy, and we cover more. So it's kind of like no-brainer, right? Why not everyone go that way? Well, we're seeing a lot more of it, and but I'm not here to put the NFIP out of business or throw them in front of the bus either. So, Congress does what they do, and they're very slow to do it. So, there's a variety of zones here. Most of it is in an X zone, but right where a lot of the flooding is, like right behind us here in various spots, it's an A zone, which in A zones require, if you have a mortgage, you have to have flood insurance. Mandatory purchase in 1994 requires you to have it. So if you don't have a loan, then you don't have to have it, but you're still in an A zone. And we have as far as the rates go on the Lloyd side, we actually don't necessarily care so much on the zone or the elevation because we underwrite the policy much differently. It's a very simpler process, but we don't require pre-firm, post-firm, and there's a lot of rules that it has. So it's much different.
As a continuation of that question for businesses, there are many businesses here
Mm-hmm.
in Manitou that are in the path, and we've seen quoted, businesses that are probably $500,000 or less in value, with $50,000 a year premiums. Is that?
Well, we have one.
Can you give
Yeah.
us just some range?
Well, yeah, it does vary, but our best price we have, which is majority of $250,000 of coverage, is $870.35 is what our $250,000 of coverage for a single family house is in an A zone. And that's including down here. So we don't say, well, you're down here, so we're going to charge you more, and you're over here. It just doesn't work that way. So that's a pretty good price. That's residential. And, for the same coverage, especially on your older homes, the pre-firm, you're going to see a huge difference in price, huge difference. And a pre-firm would be something that's through the NFIP is $1,230 12/31/1974 or older, or when it went into the community when it adopted the rules, which most of them I think down here are, isn't it, Norm? Well, it's close in that time frame. But as far as price goes, it's all over the place. But we're about 20 to 30% less than FEMA on that most of the time. It's not always. Sometimes even more than that.
Let me restate my question. It's not so much FEMA versus, I'm just wondering
Yeah.
about the affordability.
Right. The affordability is, the affordability is a home run in my opinion. And the people that we currently have. I hate to use the one here in Manitou. In Manitou, we have several Lloyd's policies down here. The good news is we only have one claim, but it's very close to this property we're at right now, and they're without disclosing all the details, which I won't do, but their premium is probably, we had them with the NFIP through Hartford, actually about 7 years ago, I think it was. We rewrote them, and it was almost half. So it's, without getting a lot of detail, it's I don't know how to answer your. I'm trying to answer your question the best I can. So,
let me ask you, with regard to the gentleman's question, with regard to loss of use,
mm-hmm.
do you write policies that include loss of use for flood damage?
Correct. Absolutely, we do. We think that you should have that. Our goal is to make you whole. I mean, as an insurance agent, I've been doing insurance for almost 20 years now, and we preach auto, home, umbrella, coverage, and make you whole. But on the other hand, our Lloyd's policy makes you more whole than it would on the NFIP. And that's not to take away, I feel like I'm really throwing Norm in front of the bus here, but I like Norm, he's a great guy. But no, it does cover loss of use. It covers contents in the basement, which the NFIP does not cover. Contents, your TV, it's very limited down there. And Norm will tell you, or anyone through the NFIP, we had over 800 some claims with Sandy, from Hurricane Sandy on Jersey Shore. It was very bad, very sad. It's when you think you have coverage for something and you don't, and your family's now in jeopardy of, what are you going to do? It's bad. So.
You define basement under your policy?
So that's a good question. Very good question. Definition of a basement through the NFIP is 4 subgrade walls. We don't have that rule. Basement is a basement. Just like the building code shows a basement, that's a basement. Walkout basement, we don't care if it's a walkout basement. It doesn't matter. It's more, our rules follow closer to the homeowner's policy that everyone's accustomed to using, the terminology and everything. So don't try to trick people. And on far as what's a basement, one thing that I think is important is a basement like I was saying, or the basement of the NFIP is 4 subgrade walls, and including the sunken room basements, like or living rooms they're considered. We can talk later about that and go on and on about this, but yeah, go ahead.
So you get a flow of mud and water into your basement, and then it's mud. So what is it?
So what's the peril? The peril is it mud, or is it the rain that came through the basement? And obviously, in our case, it's a definition of a flood it's going to be covered. And mold. Mold's an interesting thing. No company covers mold. We don't either, except there's one exception to the rule is the basement has mold in it now because the claim has been 3 weeks old. Well, it's bad. It's not covering that. We cover that. As long as the original peril is from the flood.
So I'm a liaison. I've paid premiums for quite a while with the national. So what kind of hikes can we expect now that we're active and chronic with this?
Related to the NFIP? Or
To Lloyd's.
we've had, in 13 years, we've had 3 rate increases. That's it. The last one we had was in 2010. Lloyd's, yes. Lloyd's. And the NFIP has one every year, and they're going to have a pretty severe one October 1st, and then in January they're changing. It's a very interesting times right now.
And that goes to the government too, so what are they gonna do with our premiums too? So
Well, that's what I'm referring.
Can you talk about the rate increasing? Do you think it's expected, or, I know there's legislation, isn't there right now about that?
Yeah, it's pretty.
Get into that?
Thank you.
Next question. Okay, July 6th, 2012, Congress passed something called Bigger Waters. Bigger is one of the representatives, Waters was the other. And the whole idea of Bigger Waters was in a lot of our rating, we were given a discount. Because we were charging less than the risk we were taking would justify. We were doing that for various sort of reasons. And Congress essentially says we can't do that anymore. Everybody has to pay the risk that we identify, and so it'll all be uniform. And so there's going to be a transition as they bring people into that. And there's a lot of it so up in the air that it's hard to be very definitive about this, because a lot of it, to be quite truthful, this came and then we had to figure out how to put it in place. And there's some of it we're still working on. With the government, a lot of it goes to what we call rulemaking. Rulemaking can take 3 to 4 years to put in place. So to say what's happening with the rates, potentially there can be rate increases coming. We look at it as essentially fairness. They're going to impact the people who are paying less than actuarially was justified.
It was but it's only impacting pre-firm and commercial.
Yes.
Commercial property.
Yeah, he's getting to something probably a lot of you won't understand, but pre-firm's a term we use for structures that were built before the community ever got in the program. We ever created these maps that I referred to. These homes we were given a discount to. It depends on your community. Let's see if your community joined our program and got on board in 1980. Every house is built before 1980 is considered pre-firm. These are the ones that get in the discount and potentially can have the rate increases. Post-firm were all what we refer to as elevation rated. And we took a look, I won't get into this detail, it's quite complicated, but we rated them to the elevation of that particular structure. So all those are actually rated and will not be affected at all. In fact, that represents 81% of all policies will not be affected. Now the 19% that can be affected, here's how they get affected. If it was a non-primary residence, you have a house here and you have a house in Florida. The one that was the recreational house, the non-primary residence, that one would be impacted. Okay? The others will be impacted when they sell the property. We're not going to go in and change you in the middle. But if you sell the property, if you ever lapse the policy and it's being rewritten, or if you come in to buy new, those pre-firms will be taken to the full, we call it full actuarial rate. That's the rate without a discount at that time. And one particular case started last January. That was the non-primary residences. The rest of these I just referred to took place October this year. That's primarily what's happening. It's not going to affect, potentially the maximum affects 19% of the people. If you don't sell your house, it didn't affect you. You didn't lapse your policy, it didn't affect you. You're not coming in to buy a new policy, it didn't affect you. So potentially 19% of the people can have a premium rate increase as we move them from the discount to the elevation rated, full rated policy. I know that was complicated, and I apologize, but it's not an easy question.
And we'll open the floor to questions for any of the speakers that are here, as well as the gentleman from Public Health, if you're willing to
I just want to give you my phone number in case you're interested. We're actually in Brighton, Colorado, is where our office is. And we write in all 50 states, but we've been in Colorado for 40 some years now. But anyhow, my name is Matt Herr, and this is Steve Uhas, my business partner. Our number, if you have something to write with, is, and I'll have my business cards over here at the table. Our phone number is area code 303-659-5006. And
just as a point of clarification on the slide, it said Flood Insurance Services. That was our previous name. We just did a name change, so it's Superior Flood. It's one and the same. The business dynamic hasn't changed at all. It's just a name change. So just wanted to clarify that as well.
modernized our name. Like the name better. But does anyone have any other questions for me, or?
I have a question. I
Okay.
don't know if this got asked before, but what if you had a claim and then just right after you had a second event happen? Do you cover both events? And this is for both Norm and for the Lloyd's policy. How does that work when you've got two claims within a period of about a month or so?
And we actually have that in Boulder. That little cabin I was talking about. Nice little cabin, nice lady that has a little bed and breakfast place up there. But anyhow, she had a claim on one of their first cabins. We paid out a claim on that, and we were keeping our fingers crossed. But she had another claim about 3 weeks later. And then she had another claim on the third one, which was very mild, but it's like, oh my gosh. But we still have her insured, and actually 4 Mile Canyon is up there in Boulder area. That's where a lot of that came from. So she never had a problem. She's had flood insurance for years with us. So we don't, yeah. Oh yeah.
Answer's much the same. If you had numerous claims, it doesn't make any difference. You're still covered, and each one's a new claim, and there would be no ramifications at all. However, if they would ever get to a place where we fall into our category of severe repetitive loss, where we've had numerous claims over years, they can move to that category I referred to that are going to be taken into full actuarial rates. In other words, if they were getting the discount before, because they had a number of claims, they could go to the full actuarial rates. But again, it takes several claims. In her illustration, there would be no case. Yes, please.
Now that I've filed a claim, will my insurance with FEMA go up a lot?
No. It won't go up at all. If, again,
Unless everybody's gets.
no, well, there can always be just rate increases for inflation and that kind of thing. But no, because you have a claim, you'll never have a rate increase because of that. If you were to have, say, severe claims year after year after year, you could go into this category where we take away the pre-firm discount and you'd go to the, but it wouldn't be a big punch. One thing I might mention, all of our rating that we do is based upon the zones that I talked about, how these maps shake out. This area has a new map coming, and part of this new map could be very favorable for you. So without promising anything special, just say that we're doing studies, and the studies could end up with people moving to a lower category and a lower rate.
And this lady back here had a question too.
He answered it. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. So you're saying that on renewal over a period of years, you will renew, and NFIP will renew continuously regardless of the number of claims?
Yes.
Like an A area?
Yes. Now, we do have an exception. If you get into what we call severe repetitive loss, and this is numerous claims, okay, we can come to a place where we'll say, we're going to offer to buy you out, okay? And sometimes if a person would refuse the buyout, that they would not sell insurance in the future. I don't know of a case that ever happening, but it's potential, and it's part of this new law. So again, assume that you're having your 7th claim, and they come in and say, you know, we got to stop the bleeding here. We're going to offer you, and they always offer you a fair amount or very good amount, and you would say, nope, I'm not taking your money. I'm going to stay right here. At that particular case, they could refuse to sell you insurance, and that's brand new.
To get into that stage where you're a high competitive risk, is that something they determine may happen, or does it actually happen?
I don't know of any case. I'll tell you what, in our entire region, that's Region 8 and that's 6 states, we have one, and they've been bought out, and that was in Fargo, North Dakota. We have no others. Where these severe repetitive losses I'm talking about, most of them have to do with Louisiana, you know, and Katrina and New Orleans area.
I guess and maybe it's people I've been talking to, and of course, you know, people say different things when you're out on the street, but I've heard 3 strikes you're out
No,
on national flood insurance.
no way.
Okay.
No way, and I'd like to make a comment also. I think somebody referenced a $50,000 premium. I need to talk to that person. There's no way that I could picture that ever being one of our premiums. It might be something else. Maybe that came from a bank or something, a forced placing, but it wouldn't be one of our quotes, and not your quote either.
No. A lot of it's misrated.
Yeah, we don't know where that came from, but it doesn't make any sense to any of us.
Does the $250,000 limit of claim, is that cumulative or is that per event?
That's per event. Each event, if we had a flood and 2 days later we have a different flood, those are two different events, you'd have $250,000 on both of them. Incidentally, as maybe a negative, you'd also have a deductible each time too.
I found that out.
Yeah.
And the ICC, that only kicks in after the second flood?
No, he's thrown in some things that are very interesting. He has a good knowledge of the program. We have something called ICC, and that is very often when you have a total loss and you go to rebuild back. It's not a total loss, it's a substantial loss where the damage is more than 50% of the value of the home, okay, market value. We say you're substantially damaged. If that ever happens, then we open up a new pocket for you where you can get up to $30,000 for money that is needed to meet the city's requirements. In other words, when you go to build back, they say, you're not going to build it back that way, you got to build it back this way, and they make you build it back better, higher. That costs more money, say, to build it higher. And so you can have an additional $30,000 to meet the increased costs that you incur of meeting the compliance when you rebuild.
And that could happen after the first flood?
All you have to do is have the local city official declare that your house's damage is more than 50%. Let's say your house worth $100,000. He comes in and says, it'll take $51,000 to rebuild this house. Then the ICC becomes available. I'm sorry, I didn't get into some of this stuff because it can run on, but that's an excellent question. Thank you.
I think we have one more over here.
Actually, I got a question for Noah.
Sorry, I've got a couple of them for you.
Thank you.
First of all, I'm in the middle of a claim adjustment right now.
Okay.
My second one.
Okay.
And I was specifically told if you have 3 within 10 years, you'll be forced to put it on stilts, remove the house, and you're done.
No.
Those were the words.
You need to have that adjuster call me. Do you have my number?
I haven't quite. The other question, 2 questions. Debris removal around the house. I was told that the coverage only covers 3 feet away from the house to do repairs to the house, not all the debris that's in front of the house that is building all up everywhere. Okay? How come the coverage doesn't cover removal of debris from the property?
It does. I'd have to know more details than that. We don't pay for like taking the mud away, but
How about
debris.
trees that are laying in the front yard?
Yeah, I'd say trees would qualify. Trees, you get your neighbor's propane tank, your trash, all that qualifies. It doesn't have to have anything to do with hitting your house. It has to be on your property.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Boulders, trees, things like that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now
Do I
again,
call you, or do I go back to my adjuster and go through an appeal process?
go back to your adjuster, talk to him, and then you can also have him call me. We can work on the thing. But if it actually comes out that he's absolutely saying I'm not going to pay it, then the appeal process has to be initiated.
Okay.
Then we get into the formal looking into all the details.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had a question for the health guy. Is there anything in the mud I need to be concerned with when I'm removing it?
Mike? Mold, the question, was it mold? Is that what?
Just anything in the mud as I'm removing it from my property?
I think the question was, is there anything in the mud that you need to be concerned with?
Is it E. coli or something like that?
It could be anything. It depends on the situation where the flood came from. A lot of times, if it's an industrial area or there's a lot of that agricultural type business above you and it's bringing it into your vicinity, that's one thing. I don't think we have a whole lot of that here. So we're concerned about the bacteria that gets in from, for example, septic systems. That's all we're on up the pass. So we're looking at E. coli and we're looking at all the pathogens that cause diseases in that respect. So, and they do survive in soil for a little while. Some of them are pretty hardy. So you have to be careful and stay up to date on your tetanus shots and things like that when you're working, because everybody else's nail is in the debris that you're working with. So just be careful.
We're about out of time. Any last questions before we wrap it up? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks. Let's Give him a little thanks for being here tonight. As we wrap this up, I just wanted to point out that in the back of your handouts, there is a form for recovery tool request. We're going to also put some of these handouts on our waldorecovery.com website. But in addition, if you didn't get a thumb drive tonight, or people who aren't here that you want to pass the word to, we'll make sure that they get the information, and we'll put this up on our website as well. If you please, as soon as we get this loaded up on YouTube, we'll let you know when that's done so that you can point others to this. I also like to thank Corrine Toll here, City Council, for being here as well. And I'll let Mayor Snyder just wrap it up before we close it out.
Well, thank you, Sallie. And again, thank you to the county for setting this up, bringing these wonderful, informative people here to us. I had mentioned an SBA program, and apparently we have cleared the initial threshold to qualify, but a formal determination is forthcoming. So as soon as we have some information on some SBA loan opportunities, we'll get that out to everybody as quickly as possible. And again, thank you, Sallie, and thank you all of our speakers. Thanks.